Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Cristina Reni from the International Trade Center. And as part of the Alliances for Action initiative, I welcome you to this second session of the webinar series, Taste Online, Improving Your Digital Strategy. This webinar aims to have you entrepreneurs in the Caribbean working in the food industry to help you to navigate all these new requirements as a lot of the business are turning into virtual events and online presence is even more important to do in business. We have done this series in collaboration with the Caribbean Export Development Agency, and it's gonna last for 9 sessions. Today is our second session. So this initiative is funded by the European Union, the organizations of the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states, the CARI Forum, and the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office under the UKTP Trade Partnership Project. So I'm very happy to welcome you all this morning. I see many people joining. As I mentioned, this is a webinar series. We are always going to be here on Thursdays at the same time, touching on different elements that we recognize are important, and also that we have heard from you that you're interested into learning how to do, and as I mentioned, how to navigate this online world. For this, we are very happy to have brought different experts, and also we will be also bringing other case studies on the food industry to speak with you, to show you a bit on how you can make reality what you have seen without seeming to be overwhelming, but very practical. So for this second session, I'm also very honored to introduce to you again Tamia Carey, who's a marketing expert, the director of a Stush marketing agency based in Jamaica. So welcome again, Tamia. She will be joining us today and providing a session on brand identity. So learning how to identify what differentiates you as a company, your products, and then use it as a superpower to boost your commercial linkages. So I'm not going to take more of Tamia's time and your time to interact with you. This session is recorded and we will be publishing in the YouTube channel of Caribbean Export. We'll be also sharing the link here for that last week's session. And please comment on the chat whenever you want. Over to you, Tamia.
Hi, morning, everybody. So today we're going to go full force into brand identity and what will make your brand different from everybody else's and increase sales. Jody will be sharing her screen with us shortly. But as a brand, now that everything's digital, the world's your oyster. So you guys want to understand brand identity, also brand value, you know? So yeah, screen is up, it's great. Can everybody, you can hear me great? Okay. All right, next slide, Jody. Jeanette Marceau. Okay, so I'm from Stush Marketing, if you didn't meet me last week. And we're a digital agency as well as a 360 marketing agency here in Kingston, Jamaica. We do from video production, brand strategy, multimedia, websites. We also do TV commercials. New companies are no longer spending that much money on TV commercials. Everybody's going digital. Digital is much easier, much cheaper. Next one. So we have our own live studio. We have a studio here in Jamaica. We have a staff of 22. Photographers, videographers, editors, content creators. Now for your company, you have to learn to be all of that with your phone, which you can be, and these free apps that we're going to tell you about. Next slide, Jody. So we believe in a 360 marketing solution. So if you're going to be cooking, you take some preparation time, you're taking video, you're taking photography. Content creation is key. The more content you can put out is the more brand loyal your customer gets. But then you want good stories, so you don't want it patchy. So from the beginning, you want to start showing the process from you buying the coconuts maybe, or buying the raw materials, to carrying them home, to placing them out, to looking up good recipes, to just different parts that you think can interact with your customer. Digital advertising it's not difficult for the Caribbean. It's really, really cheap. Social media ads can run you 0.001 cent, 0.001 in US dollars, but it's to make sure that your content is appealing. Video content is cheaper than photography content. At the end of the day, you can get data from the back of your insights. So you guys need to put that down in Google, how to read insights for Facebook and Instagram. Because from the insights, then you can know who's your customer, who is looking at my stuff, how long do they spend, what's most important. So content is our specialty. Go to the next slide for me, Jody. So in content, you want to think 360. So brand identity starts with you getting a logo. Then after the logo, you want to think about your customer's behavior. Is my customer shopping at the supermarket? Is my product at a beauty supply store? If my product is at the beauty supply store, what other things does my person who does the beauty supply store, what else are they interested in? Because then that becomes the behavior. And then now you know how to speak to them. So then you say, okay, what adjectives, if it's at the beauty supply, do you use? So you want to look on brands like Soft Sheen, Carson, and Pantene Pro V. All these brands who have spent much more money than we have, and see how they speak to the customer. And that becomes your language. But in the behavior, you also want to think about the fact that, yes, they go to the beauty supply store, but they're probably also interested in nails. So when you're doing your ad set, you can also mention nails, or you can cross market with somebody who has a nail company with your hair product, right? Or your food product. Say you have coconut oil, then you can cross with somebody who probably sells seafood, and you cross market that way. Sometimes you also, the person has health, is big on health. And because they're big on health, it's always good to want to see what other things they do. So if it's a healthy person, when I'm setting my ads, I'm going to put in yoga, I'm going to put in all these different things that I think bring value to that person's behavior, and thus speaking to them in that language. Your mission, what is your mission? You need to make these goals, you need to make these pillars, you need to write them down, because what you start with may not be what you end with, but the goal is to have this little book. I have this little black book from I started 10 years ago. It's almost finished, but I write in it every day, and I write different things I hope to achieve for different companies that I own. And sometimes I don't achieve them the same year, but then the year after, like COVID was a really good year for me, because there are all these dreams I had, but I never had the time before. But COVID made me have the time with the lockdown to sit down and be able to do all these things, you know? So in your mission, you want to write down all what you hope to do and the vision you have for a 2-year plan, 3-year plan, 4-year plan. No, you might be saying vision. What type of vision? You want to look at the other companies and how they've evolved over the years and say, okay, well, this is how Coca-Cola started, but this is where Coca-Cola is at now. So there are all these brand stories that you can Google and you can read and you can hear their journey. And understanding other people's journey, that's a really big thing, because then it helps you to get to know your journey. The culture, some things are politically correct, some things aren't. So especially when you're setting tags, targeted ads to different islands, different words mean different things. So you want to make sure that it's the least amount of text, make sure that it's positivity when they're speaking and what you're writing, so that it transcends and it doesn't offend anybody. Your design, very important. Don't clutter that label. Nobody wants a cluttered label. That isn't trending right now. People want the label to know exactly what it is. Key selling points underneath. At the back of your label now, you put all what the FDA or whoever else wants. But try and have a clean label, clean logo, so then the people are excited to pick up your bottle and it's beautiful and it speaks to you and what your product is. Again, communication. Communication is similar to language, but communication is a little different. How often do I communicate? Do I communicate daily? Do I communicate weekly? No, that you will learn from when you look back on your analytics to see what the behavior is like. But no, you're not posting once a week. I'm human. I'm your customer. I want to talk. I want to see what life's about. So digital communication is a whole different ballgame. It's about being conversating and having a back and forth thing. It's not about buy me, you know. Next slide, Jones. So we always think about brand identity. You want to think about what is a brand identity kit. So here we're looking at Burger King as a case study. So Burger King has a way where their logo is always at the center or the top of everything that they produce. So it doesn't matter what else is going on it or how else they're presenting it. The logo is very clear. It's very simplistic as well. And it's at the center, the front, their colors have not changed since they started. And they've done little tweaks to the logo, but this is what it is. So now in your brand identity kit, you're gonna have, okay, well, my logo, when you go to your graphic artist, you need to write this down. He's gonna make your logo. You want your logo in a vector format. A vector format means that the back of it is clear. Then you're gonna also ask him, can I get my logo with a white background? Can I get it with a black background? Because when you sponsor events and stuff, sometimes their flyer is very pictorial. And when it's pictorial, you have to ask yourself then, okay, how is my logo going to look on the overall arching flyer? Are they going to lose my logo? Are they going to find my logo? How is it going to be? So it's very important when you get your brand identity kit, you decide from your logo from your graphic artist, you want it in those three formats: vector, white background, black background. Then you also want to think, okay, when you present my logo on my bottle, on my bag, however, this is where I want it placed. So all of these things are critical because now they become what you are. You also want to decide on a color palette. Don't have too many colors. Decide on a few. Decide on maybe a 3-color scheme, a 2-color scheme. The 3-color scheme that can be broken down into a 2-color scheme if there's a background. But you also know when you print, the more colors you have, the more it costs. So we want to really look into that brand identity kit and how best it fits your brand. What is your brand? When you think about it, like, okay, I have a brand and I think that my brand is younger than me. So I don't hire anybody in my office really over 30 because I want that generation that's digital and tech, because we're digital and tech. And they're cutting edge and they're on the top of everything and they're cooler. So the majority of my office is between 18 to 30. However, when I speak to corporate Jamaica or ITC or Carib Export, we speak in a different voice. We speak in an authoritative voice, and we're writing letters to them. We speak to them as that 40-year-old who has experience, has been around the block and knows what they're doing. So you need to decide what is your brand voice. On social media, we communicate at 30. We're 30, we're hip, we drive a little sports car, we live in the hills, we have no kids. So when we talk to people on our social media channels, it's a different voice. So you have to really think about that because that is a part of your brand consistency. When you look here at Burger & Co., you'll notice that they repeat their colors over and over, but their color palettes are the same. It's very important. You guys have Pinterest. We're going to do Pinterest today. Pinterest has color palettes, and it's very important that you go and find a color palette that appeals to you and that you can build your brand out of. Okay, so now we're looking at this sushi bar. So black is a very, very in right now, very sleek. You notice that their truck wrap, their everything is identical. Once you look on it, you can know that this is from the same place, down to their t-shirts, down to their menus. Be careful with menus as well, because you don't want where the menu isn't easy to be read. So sometimes people do dark menus and the writing isn't big enough or white enough for us to read it. But this, when you look on this collective set, this is what your brand identity kit should be able to give you. You should be able to see where you want to put your things, the colors that you're using, how you repeat them, how you place them. Is it placed in the middle? Is it placed to the left? Is it placed before the name, after the name? So if you notice in Sushi Bar, they produce their that sushi thing with the stick before they produce the name of their company on all elements. So that's what their brand consistency is like. So it's very nice to look on that. All right, this is a coffee company. No, this coffee company also seems to play on the fact, you know, they're using some browns, which is kind of a little more natural. And a lot of people in that community use also burlap, which is like a coarse, like a canvas kind of thing to bag the coffee, because it also gives you that organic feel, that natural feel, that luxury feel. But here with Cosmic Coffee and Co, you notice that they only put their label in 2 colors at max. So on the blue bag, you'll see where it's in like a nudish color and the white, but then on the black, it's just white. On the white, it's just black. So now it gives more, it causes more attention to their actual logo. So that's what I'm saying. Don't get too busy. Don't get too unidentifiable with what you choose for your logo. Next page. All right. This is Coca-Cola. So we want Coca-Cola is a beautiful example, much richer than any of us. But Coca-Cola, you'll see where they, even the light and the zero is still sexy, because the Coca-Cola branding is beautiful. And you notice that when you're selling something diet or zero, especially in Jamaica, nobody really wants to hear diet or zero. They don't want to hear diets really. So now they've used light and zero, which is a little sexy, instead of saying diet Coca-Cola, so you want to see how they've used their brand. So you see them using red and white and how they repeat the red and white. Also, they've added black in certain instances, but we know that the Coca-Cola original thing is that red and white, and they've stuck to it for many years. And you notice the brand font, as much as it's curly, it's easy to be read. So you want to think about that as well. And they have made their brand the majority of their bottle. So at the back has all of the stuff that I guess they have to put in from the FDA and quality control and stuff, but the front is all about their fonts. Okay, so now when your brand becomes something bigger than it is, it's worth more. So here we have a very good example. A cup of coffee, that amount, a Starbucks cup of coffee is this amount. And if you were with us last week, you would have heard the Starbucks journey and how they reached here and how they're a multi-billion-dollar company with how many stores. So you want where your logo is memorable. I don't know who came up with the Starbucks logo. We can research that one of these days, but the mascot is very very sexy, very easy to see, very recognizable. The cup is very usable, even the sip top. So sometimes when we're doing our packaging, think about how easy your packaging should be. Some of us like to use jars, but then if it's a poor item, is a jar ideal? So really troubleshoot what you're packaging and how you're packaging, so you can say, is this the best opportunity for us, and is it easy for them to know? So let's do a little recap now. So we need to learn about brand recognition, brand awareness, which then gives us brand equity, loyalty, and trust. And the last one is, sorry about that, agility. Now, when we speak to agility, so you might have a content plan for this month, but then something topical happens and you have to learn to adjust to sale and adjust to what's going on. So you can't always think, okay, well, this is what this is what I'm posting today, but then is it really relevant? Something more relevant might be happening in your country. So maybe you guys, I know Barbados has crop over. So I remember telling some clients in Barbados when they were having crop over to post their stuff and get all the crop over hashtags and put underneath. So when people are looking on all those carnival pictures from around the world, they'll also see that person's brand, which has nothing to do with carnival, but then it's the time of year and it makes you do things in a purposeful manner. So you have to have agility to change and also to move with times. Okay. No, you want to choose your brand fonts. So you want to decide what brand works for you. See that Coca-Cola is very curly and that cursive writing. That was very in when Coca-Cola started, and they've actually kept it the whole time. They've made slight changes to it, but it's fun, it's, it's expressive, and that's why they've done it. But you want to think now, what is your brand about? Is your brand elegant? Is your brand quirky? Is it traditional? What is your brand about? And then you look at fonts that are in that brand space, because you can really define what your brand voice is going to be. Make sure it's memorable, legible. It can work on all platforms. So you want to think, okay, on my box, it will appear this way. And the thing is that the graphic artist that you're working with, you can ask him if he can go to Google and get some bottles and different things and put your brand on it so you can see what it looks like before you make a decision on it, before you print labels. You can just get some plain bottles and present it on them for you. So you can say, or plain bags. So you can say, okay, does it work this way? Should we tilt it? Should it be straight? Should it be at the bottom of the bag, the top, the middle? And you can kind of work with it that way as you become your personality. But it must be legible and it has to be memorable. Okay, so brand positioning. So you want to kind of figure out more than ever, where do you fit? Where are you at? What position? What's the essence of your brand? How does that brand make other people feel? How would I like my product described? What does that product do for me as a person? What does it do for other people? So it's very important that you guys think about these smaller elements, because I feel that that's very important. That's why it comes back to that little black book again, to write things down. Is it a renewal product? Is it a product that people buy constantly? If it's constantly, when you're marketing it, are you marketing it as a weekly purchase? Are you marketing it as use me in different ways? Are you marketing as a health product? So you want to know, what does that product do for you? And how does that make me feel when I use your product? So these are parts and essence of what your whole brand voice is going to be like. Brand positioning is also what you're feeding the consumer. So you really need to think about that, make a good list about it, and look at these key selling elements. Next one, Jody. Okay, colors and emotions. So believe it or not, colors have a lot of different personalities, and you could choose a color you love, but then it may not be a color that coincides with what your brand voice or personality portrays. So you want to kind of use 2 to 3 variants on your core brand color. You don't want to go over, I don't really like going over 3, to be honest. But look at these great logos that are, a lot of them, one color. So you don't have to go overboard on it being too cluttered. You don't have to have it be overboard on the font that's hard to be read. So here we see where they say, okay, optimism and clarity and warmth, and it has UPS in it. Brown is a huge company, and they try, and when you look at their ads, they're always talking about being on time, the people are responsible, their brand voice, that kind of thing. Peaceful, you see Animal Planet, you see Tropicana. So you want to kind of figure out, what does brand, where does my brand fit? And think about your color and emotional guide that will go along. You can also have a black or white logo, and then I have complementing colors that you use with it at different times of year. So there are 2 different ways to look on it, you know? So sometimes you want to go the more natural way. Now, this is from Pinterest. It's very easy to go into Pinterest and put in your colors, put in your core brand color, and then they will show you color palettes of. Jody, can you go to Pinterest for us? So
sorry, while she goes, while Jody goes to Pinterest, can I just read you a question that we have here that is very much related with brand colors? So Patrick Lyle asks, are there color palettes you would stay away from? For example, too close to an existing brand or negative connotation?
Yes, but then I don't really look on another brand in my competing space unless they're a very large brand, because you're not going to say it's a smaller competitor, you could end up being a lot larger than they are. But I could see where it could cause confusion. So you could just make sure that when your label, if their label exists before yours, the placement and everything of how you do your thing is different. So there are different ways to do that. So he would have to really think about that. But if he can be unique, of course, being unique is always the best way to go. Jody, put in color palettes for me. So Pinterest is my go-to place. I love Pinterest. Putting color palettes for food. Food. Okay, so these are amazing palettes because they can show you all the colors that complement each other and are, I don't know if you know about the color wheel, but on the color wheel, there are things in opposites. And when you put them together, they give you a beautiful finish. So you can keep scrolling down, Jody. But when you go here, you can get different ideas of color palettes that you'd like to use. Now, say I decide I really want to use the color blue. Jody, can you put in color palettes with turquoise for me? All right. So when I say I know that I want to use blue, now I can look through all these color palettes, scroll and go down, Jody. And I can now look and see, okay, well, these are complementing colors. Which one do I like the best? Right? And you can go down and decide which color palette works for you. And you don't have to use all the colors on it, but you know that these three together agree no matter what in aesthetic. Put color palettes for packaging. Right, so now you see color palettes. Click on the one to the left, Jody, where you have the, yeah, that one. So here now, these people have decided that they're using a softer color palette and then black as the writing. And then those are their tones. So that's something to look at. So they also have packaging palettes. Scroll down for me, Jody. Right, there you go. So even that now. So you have palettes that, click on that one with the, yep, no, go to the right. Oh, okay. Right. So yeah, so you can see the skincare one down there, Jody, at the bottom right. Scroll down where it says the design for skincare and brand take. Elf. Right. Down, down, right there. All right, so that one now, you see how dark and lovely, Neutrogena, all these bigger brands, how simplistic, but then it's also put onto the actual, it's kind of rolled to their logo for Elf for Neutrogena. So these are things to look at. Another thing to look at is that there's this beautiful thing called Pantone. Joni, can you put in Pantone colors for 2021? Trending colors. Pantone trending colors 2021. Okay, so now Pantone is like the authority in the color space, and they will, okay, so pick on the one that says spring, summer. So for Pantone, they do all the colors for the fabric people, for the household people. Everybody goes kind of by this chart and this color scheme. So Pantone is like the authority in that space. Now, Pantone may be trending these colors this year, and say you do pick a yellow, a turquoise, or blue. There are other tones to it in other years that can upgrade and make it refresh. So you also want to look on that as well. What is Pantone trending? What is relevant to what is going on right now? Go down, Jody. So this is like your oyster. So I hope you guys will take a little time in Pinterest. And there's also the psychology of color, which is on Pinterest, which you guys can look up as well. Let's go back to the presentation. I think we've bored them with Pinterest enough. So yeah, so this is another color chart, which we've gone through, and I think you understand. Right. So when you're thinking about your logo, it needs to be memorable, timeless, versatile, appropriate, and simple. So I'd like all of you to look at your logos and see, do you get these key selling elements when you look on it? And as it transcends in 10 years time, will it still be good? Because once you start building your brand with this logo, it's a part of the brand. You can't keep changing it. So you want to make sure that it's sexy, it's sleek, it's all what your brand is to be, or whatever your brand voice is. And I can keep changing it and upgrading it, and minor color changes. Maybe we started with a bright pink, but then in 2 years, a purple or pink is more in. I could just change the color and the logo still looks good. So I want to think about that. So you guys need to look at your logo and think. How do you design your logo? So first you create a creative brief. I'm very micromanaging with my creative team. So I create a brief. I send them down to flowers I like, scents I like, all the things that I think portray my brand and what I want to get across. I then research the colors and what colors I like, what I don't like. I send them what I like. I send them what I don't like. I also send them a reference. I send them logos that I like. This is the logo. I saw Dove. I love Dove. I love this. I love that. I don't like this. And then after that, sometimes if I'm in the mood, I'll sketch. I'm not really a sketcher. So if you guys don't sketch, that's fine. And then you send it to them. They present it to you, and then you do revisions and tweak what you want. But you see, the more you can give that creative person to kind of bring them into that net, is the better it can be. Don't just say I need a logo and I want it pink. I want to, no, even go and look on fonts you like and give them more support. Don't look on trends, look on what you like, because as I said, it's trending now. Will it be trending in 2-3 years? Think outside the box as well sometimes. And try to be minimalistic. Being minimalistic is a big deal because those are the logos you really remember. There's this gentleman in Jamaica who has Tops Tea, and it's like it's a stop sign, red stop sign that says Tops inside. And I remember that logo from I was about probably 3 or 4. He still has that logo, and he's one of the top tea companies, and he hasn't changed it, but it just sticks in your head, kind of like that McDonald's the golden arches, you know. So we want to think about things like that. So here we have quite a few fonts. You can see the Kellogg's, Disney, T-Mobile, Facebook. Think about your fonts. You can Google fonts and go through different fonts. Gatorade has a very strong G with the bold through it, but Gatorade is known for strength. So maybe that's why the G is like that, you know. Kellogg's is a little more fun. It's a little more receptive. It's a little more food-based. So you want to think about these things as well. Next. Okay, so you want to look on the evolution of Target. Okay, so Target from 1962 to 1968, 2000 to 2007. So your logo is going to be like this as you grow. You're going to like it this way, change it that way. Now, the Target word over the circles, I think is just horrendous. That's a very difficult read, but you can see 1968, they decided to simplify, but they haven't gone much further from where the initial circle of starting, you know. So you want to think about that. And the thing is that the brand is so strong now, they don't even need the word, they just use the circle. So you want to think about that objectively when you're doing yours. Next, Coca-Cola. So you see where Coca-Cola has changed over the time. You see where it was without the swoosh looking thing, that curl thing. You see where they used the bottle when they didn't. I'm pretty sure they used the bottle before everybody knew the bottle. So a lot of companies will actually use their bottle, what it looks like in the ad, so that you have brand recognition of the bottle and things. So when you go to the supermarket or wherever you go to buy your product, people would have recognized you and recognized the brand. Okay, how does your overall design make you feel? So, so when we look on this wheel, this was a study done last year, and this is how they overall came back with where Ben and Jerry's, because it's a little more quirky, they found it very playful. You notice Mercedes-Benz at the bottom, King in control, that star, not star, it's kind of like, well, that circular thing with the, I would say it's kind of like a star inside, but stability. And this is why, again, you want to really think about what you're doing, how you're doing it, what others have done, learn from mistakes, and then decide what your brand voice and your brand will look like. So identity. So your vision, so you want to think about all aspects, your visual and written brand identity. You want to think, you want to take a little time out, quiet time, and write down what you think you are first. Who am I as an individual? Then after you write out who you are as an individual, then you write out why you made this product, right? Why you came up and why this product is what you've chosen. Then after that, it will give you some clarity as to what your brand is, because your brand is you. And you have to be as authentic as possible, because that value system and your values is what's going to make that brand different. What's different about your brand? What part of your journey is so different that people are going to remember it? So you don't want to fall in with everybody else. You want to have, you guys are from beautiful islands, like you should have great stories of difficulty, great stories of resilience, great stories of, you know, many parts. Maybe there's this flow that you identify with, that identifies with your brand, but you want to put all of that together, then do your mission statement. But your mission statement has to be on your core values, of course. So you want to have all of that done. After you do that, then you do your logo. You know, it makes a lot more, it makes a lot, make it for a lot better experience, because when you're explaining yourself to the graphic artist who's not a mind reader, you can now give him so much more information and you can reach your target quicker. I remember the first logo that was sent to me. I should have put it in this presentation. The ugliest thing ever. But then when I was explaining to the graphic artist now, 10 years later, when I think about it, I really didn't explain properly. And he gave me, and then I went to the wrong graphic artist. I went to a graphic artist that does flyers for parties. That wasn't very smart. I should have gone to a graphic artist that does corporate or does labeling or does, you know, so not every graphic artist is equal. So you have to think about that as well. Next page. So this is pretty great. If you guys can take your phones and turn off the flash, take a photo of this. So you want your brand, the identity, the logo. So this is it simplified. There's no other way to simplify how you're going to get to the end result. This is it. Take a photo of this. What emotion are we giving? What's the visual aspect that makes me different? And then, of course, this is who I am. Who's your logo? Next one. So your company's personality, very easy. Take a photo of this as well. What is your company? What is your personality? And if you had done what we said before of writing out who you are, why you decided on this company, then these would be very easy things to finish, which is your company personality. And it shouldn't take more than probably an hour max. To just list out, and you don't have to write it out, make bullet points. I don't write well, so I don't write it out. I make bullet points and then give it to everybody else and ask them to write it out for me, because that's my personality. But make the bullet points first. Afterwards, you can sit down and belabor the paragraphs, but just get it done. So you want to think, where do you fit in this circle? Are you innocent? Are you the regular guy? Are you the caregiver, the creator? Where are you? And this will then give you how you're going to be and how your voice will be and what your logo will look like. So it's very important that you guys know who you are, to know where you're going to fit in, know who you're going to market to. What does the person you're marketing to like to see? You know, it's kind of like, I remember this commercial I saw for soft drinks, and the girls were in bikinis and walking down the street. They're trying to sell children soft drinks and stuff. And then it brought back to me that as a mother looking at the commercial, because I'm the one who would buy the soft drinks, would I really identify with that and want it, or this is a bar ad? So you want to also think about that. What does the person buying your product really want to see? Let's not go too far out and then miss the person, you know? So tagline. So a tagline can come after, but it's always nice to have one. So like even for my store, my tagline is where the beautiful come to shop, you know? And you want to think about a tagline that depicts you. But the tagline can come way after. You don't have to think about it right away. If you have one, that's gravy on top. But a tagline is very important, because then it communicates your value proposition. So you want to know, what is it? What do you want your customer to feel? How do you want your customer to feel when they read that tagline under your logo? So tagline can be secondary. So Fridays, here's our case example. So Fridays is a chain of bars, food stores, loud, a lot of music, memorabilia inside from all sorts of parts of the American history, from boats to old steering wheels to guitars on the wall. It's, something else. So their focus is, no matter when you come in there, it's Friday. Now, Friday is thought of as relaxation day, go out with your friends day, fun day, so they've made the inside meaningful. Every time you go to that location, the food is the same. Every time you go there, it's memorable. Thank you, Wendy. Every time you go there, is what it is. And their logo says that TGI Fridays, thank God it's Friday. So you want to kind of think about that as well in your tagline when you're making that tip, so that it's not stale in a few years. All right, let's look through some big brands. Nike, just do it. Boy, I should think about that every day. I hate going to the gym, but I have to go to the gym. But then, so for Nike, that's a beautiful slogan. Just do it, don't procrastinate. That's an amazing thing, Apple, think different. If you read the story on the man who came up with Apple, it's a really nice story. They also have videos and stuff on Netflix and stuff of him. And when you read that and you listen to his whole brand experience, it really connects. L'Oreal, because you're worth it. Now, L'Oreal costs more than Maybelline and some other products, but they're letting you know that you're worth it. Spend the extra $4 or $5 US. So, so it's really to look on these things. KFC's one, finger licking good. So look on these things, look on your food product, what makes it you. McDonald's, I think, has the softest one, which is I'm loving it. And if you see the kids eating, and anytime they present their things with people in it, there's this glow in the eye and these smiles. So you want to think about that going forward. Next, who are my customers or individuals or companies? This is very important. So never depend on your friends to grow your business. This is a very key selling point. Always know that, yes, you have friends, but they may not support you and they may not buy from you. So don't think of your friends as your target at any point in your life, because you'll be lied to. That's not what it is. Who is your target is who wants your product and who's going to use your product. How old are they? What does it bring? The people with coconut, I envy you, because there are just so many ways that coconut is trendy right now. It's trendy for Alzheimer's. It's trendy for skin. It's trendy for people with psoriasis. There are all these new fun facts for coconut, So you want to say, who am I catering to? How much money do they earn? Are these people college graduates? Are they not college graduates? All of these ad sets are actually in social media. And you can set social media within a 5-mile target of your store, where it is, Also, you can offer delivery, of course, but you want to think about the behavior of your customer and why your customer is buying your product. Not because you market it, people who are looking for coconut oil. No. That's too different. That's too little. So you want to put in all the key selling points of coconut oil, and that is what becomes the target for your ad. You want to think, how do they spend their time and money? Where do they go? Maybe it's that person who buys from you likes to go to yoga, as I said before, or maybe they like to go to football, or they're interested when football season comes on. So these are other elements that you can put in because you want to speak their language. Maybe they like to go to the beach. So you want to have that great beach shot with a bottle of coconut oil if it's a tanning lotion. Maybe there are people that spend their time with their kids, and it's a great thing to put in and comb the hair. Maybe it's something that you cook food with to get this exemplary taste, but you want to show those different things in your ad so that people identify their lifestyle and your target is defined. Where are those? What industries are they located in? So the next slide is your targeting tips. So define your demographic, reach demographic, and then motivate them to buy. So let's do a simple equation now. So I have a coconut oil that, well, it's not only coconut, turmeric. Let's do turmeric. So I have turmeric and I have it bottled, and I know that below 20, below 30 is willing to do face masks because they're very into those things when I researched. So I'm going to set my ad below 30, but I'm going to have the photo of the turmeric face mask on somebody, my bottle on it, and then I'm going to send it out to my customer because I have their information, which is a target age group. And then I'm going to motivate them to use it because you're seeing the photo with the turmeric on the person's face. Maybe there's a little line on it for beautiful skin, get radiant, ready for the summer. You know, so that's how you want to think about no reach motivate. Motivate is really showing how you're different, what's great, and how your competitor, how you top your competitor in it and why they should use it. So think about that, no reach and then motivate. How best to reach your target audience? Well, good for you. Since COVID, everything is digital and you can reach your target market in any country and anywhere. So it's really about learning ad sets. So you want to come up with these parts to do your ad set, which is your unique selling proposition. What makes you different? What are the benefits of your products? You want to look at what your competitors are doing. I always look at what my competitors are doing because I think I have to be better than my competitor. I don't look at my competitors in Jamaica. I look internationally on competitors, what they're doing, because they have way more age and spending power. So I feel like they can do these market analysis surveys. And so look on your competitor. Promotion, how are you going to promote? Are you going to promote using coupons? Are you going to promote using influencers? Are you going to promote by digital ads, sending people to where your product is at? What is your positioning statement? What are those key things that talk about your company? You know, what are those 4 keywords? So if you had to choose 4 words, what would they be to talk about your company? And then after that, you point it at your target audience, which is your age, or, you know, the age specifics, what they like to do. That's your target audience. You can't alienate what they like to do either with your product because you have to make it one in the same. So it doesn't come across as a sell, it comes across as a softer approach. So yes, so how do we get valuable? Okay, so how we get valuable? First of all, we need to look premium. So we're not going to have that cluttered label, ugly label that nobody can read and people are squinting to read the great selling points. So we have to look premium. So we're going to try and look as beautiful as possible to be on the shelf. What is the experience when they use the product? You know, is it that it has a special scent? Is it that it's smooth to go on? Is it that when you pour it, it's, you know, what we're pouring it out of the bottle is great to use? How does it work? So all these things bring value to your product. That's why earlier I was saying to you, if you know it's a pouring product, don't put it in a big jar with a big mouth and then it's hard to pour it out and measure it out. I remember reading this thing about pump bottles and how pump bottles became trendy because especially for people in pharmaceuticals, because you pump it like 3 times and it gives you a serving. And they know they're put about 15 pumps in that bottle. So you can't really scrimp on it as much. They were able to increase sales by having this pump bottle. So you need to think, okay, to have people buying you stuff all the time, what would be the best bottle? What would be the best cost to put it together with, you know? Then you need to think about the emotional purchase. What is the emotional purchase why people want to buy specifically your product, right? People use the same product all the time. Why should they change to your brand? So you need to have testimonials, maybe people using it, things that will make them, you know, want to be closer to your brand. So all of these things basically canvas brand proposition and how we're going to grow you as a brand and make you be what these people want to purchase, what they want to have. So you should take out your phone and take a photograph of this without the flash, please. Your unique value proposition defines you. And I think I've like bored you guys to death for the past few hours on this. And I think you get the point and why you need to sit down now and really read out and answer those questions. Why should I do business with this person? Why should I not do business with somebody else? You need to really troubleshoot. You need to probably talk to your friends. What do you think makes me different? Sometimes you are at a mind log. I noticed that during COVID, I depended on my friends and family a lot to get me through some days, because sometimes I wasn't being creative, and emotionally it was difficult, but then I work in a creative space. So sometimes speaking to others, they can tell you what they feel about you and what they feel about your brand. You take down those notes, because no man is an island, and then through those notes, you can then make it clearer and define who you are and what you are. So this is the final slide, Jody. Is it? Oh, we have a few more. Second to last. So you want to know your target audience, right? That you're filling their needs, the personality of your brand, and what does it deliver and promise. And then, of course, the brand position what makes you number one? What makes you clear from the competition? What about you makes you the choice, So you want to look on those things. So that's very important. I want you to watch this video. Jody starts at about a minute. You hear myself? No. I'm not hearing it though.
Corporate overtones and in language that you would never use in a day-to-day conversation, would you want to do business with them over a brand that communicates in a language that feels familiar to you, that feels conversational, that feels like they're communicating directly to you? Me personally, I know exactly which brands I would choose, and that's how I choose with my wallet. Now, it's important to note here that the brand voice is an extension of the personality. Now, some of the most loved brands in the world have a really unique brand voice that feels familiar to their audience, but that brand voice is not created in isolation, and rather it's an extension of that personality that the brand has developed out. So it's really important to keep that in mind as you develop your own brand voice, to make sure that you're also developing a brand personality and that your personality and your brand voice is aligned, so your brand is singing the same tune. So how do you go about developing out your own brand voice for your brand? Well, the key is in the characteristics, and that is the most important element within your brand voice. So you need to identify what characteristics your audience is going to be attracted to based on their desires, and then you need to identify what they want from your brand in terms of the role you play. Now, if that's not clear enough for you, I'll give you a 4-step framework that you can use to develop out your brand voice. Step number 1, identify the characteristics that your audience is attracted to. Now, I use brand archetypes for this exercise. Now, if you haven't come across brand archetypes or you don't know how to use them, I'll leave a link in the description below, and I'll leave a card above as well, and that will explain it all for you. But that will help you to identify what archetype your audience is most aligned to and what characteristics they're most attracted to. Step number 2, identify what they want from their brand. So different people will want different things from their brands, and they'll want the brands in their lives to play different roles. So do they want to feel secure or safe, or do they want to feel excited or exhilarated or successful or educated? What is it that they want from your brand? Because the role that your brand plays will determine how your brand behaves. Step number 3, align your brand with an archetype. So here you're taking what they're attracted to and you're taking the role that they want from your brand, and you're aligning your brand to an archetype that will best appeal to them. So again, make sure you use the archetypal framework for this exercise and extract the characteristics from that archetype. And step number 4, use the characteristics that you've extracted from step 3 to develop out your unique brand voice. So let me give you an example of this. Let's say you've identified a characteristic from that archetype of rebellious. So the rebellious characteristic is what your audience is going to be attracted to. Then you develop out your brand voice based off of that characteristic. So it might be gritty or rough, or it might have a no-nonsense approach. Likewise, you might identify the characteristic that will appeal to your audience as wholesome or pure. And if that's the case, maybe your brand voice is soft and calm and reassuring. Now, the reality is that brand voice is becoming increasingly important in any brand strategy. And the reason for this is that we are tired of all of this push marketing. We are tired of this corporate communication and entities and brands communicating to us as if we're robots. We're not robots, we're people. And if we have brands communicating to us in a familiar tone of voice and in a way that appeals to our emotions, then we are going to give that brand a window of opportunity and a window of attention that we will not give their competitors. But I'd love to hear from you about your experiences.
So that's kind of a recap of everything you've learned today, actually. And I don't know if you guys have any.
What's up, brand builder? Stephen Hurahan here, or brand.
So we have our work cut out for us, not her, us. Go back to that other page for me, Jody. So we want to think about, create a set of guidelines, audit your brand. What do I have? What do I not have? How do I communicate and collaborate? You want to make sure not to collaborate with anybody too similar to your brand, but somebody complementing. How do I utilize my brand management team? Some of us are the team, we understand. So we need to go through everything little by little. And that's it. You can go to the next slide, Jody. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm going to sign back over to ITC.
Hi, Tamia. So thank you very much for that session. We have just one question because we have been answering the rest. So we have one. It's about choosing a name for a small business. So when you have a new business and you need to choose a name for that brand, do you have any tips of what people should have in mind?
Well, this is really funny. I remember my first company I opened was named Posh, and it was a clothing store, and it was a very bad choice because when I went to the company's office, they had 5 businesses named Posh, so I couldn't buy it. So then I had to rebrand as my own name, which this is like 6 years later of building this brand Posh. I have digital footprint in Posh. I have Instagram, Facebook, everything. It was really a dono. And then I had to change the name. So it's very important that you do your research with company's office also to see what's available. Colloquial terms they don't allow us to use it. So even though our company is named Stush Marketing, which in Caribbean culture, Stush is somebody who's very pris, always well-dressed, very, very proper. They won't allow us to use it, but we could use Stush Marketing, So it's always good to go to the company's office and see what's available before you decide to start doing things, because then when you can't buy it, it's very degrading, especially after using all this money to market and create this footprint. And now you've lost it all, and you have to now try and move your customers over. This is kind of like why we always tell them, don't use a personal page to promote. Start that business page, because getting the people from the personal page over to the business page is very difficult, and you can't run any ads from the personal page. So it's kind of a similar experience where you build on a platform that isn't steady. So you need to check company's office. Then you need to Google all the key points about your business and look for synonyms and words that complement, and then from that work backwards. That's what I normally do.
No, I think that's a great tip. It's a great tip.
But
because it's something that's it's so fundamental for the rest of the building that brand on the points that you have touched today. So while we open the floor for more questions, I also want to be aware of the timing, and we have already received some comments on the chat that they really enjoyed the presentation today, Tamia. So I'm just gonna ask participants as well, please, to answer poll. I have just launched it. We would like to receive feedback from you about this session and also on all the sessions from this webinar series of Alliances for Action in partnership with the Caribbean Export on digital branding. So I think that the examples that you have shared today, some of you were very good, and also some of these tools like the brand's archetype. We had also a comment on the chat before you mentioned that they already like related with the brand archetype. So it was really good that then you jump into it and gave concrete examples of how would that work. I see that we don't have any other questions. Let's see. We have one from Kevin. So while people answer the feedback, perhaps we can answer Kevin's question. Says, high grade presentation and branding products, can they equally be applied to services such as agritourism?
Yes. That's funny because Caribbean Export has something on that tomorrow. Yes, it can, but for agritourism, it's a little different. Maybe he can email us and we can explain to him. It's the same value system to get the brand voice overall. But when you're now going into the tourism world now, you want to be touching hashtags and different things that will funnel the people into and onto your website or onto your space, because if you don't know the keywords that they're looking for, then they won't be able to find you. So that's a problem. So then your hashtag campaign is a little different when you're doing it that way. So you'd put in products of what who's from which island?
Kevin didn't mention which
okay,
island.
So say products of Barbados, made in Barbados.
Dominica.
Okay, Dominica. So products of Dominica, made in Dominica. You need to know how to do made in Dominica in English, French, and Spanish, and have them as hashtags. Organic products from Dominica. You want to kind of think of how, when somebody's searching for you, how they'd find you with Google AdWords, as well as how they'd find you through hashtags. So that's a different mental state from dealing with somebody who's one person buying your product. Because no, you have to show them that you have sustainability. You can produce those boxes and boxes when they order it. You can have delivery options. So that's a little different in mechanic, but in brand voice, it's absolutely the same. Your brand voice, actually, if you're exporting and stuff like that, needs to also have a lot of credible words in it, credible lines. How many years in service, people you work with, that kind of thing. It's kind of like a resume.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I see here that Merle has asked if we have the recordings of today's session. Yes, we will be publishing these in Caribbean's Export YouTube channel. And then, Kervin, we can reach out to you with an email address. I'm gonna write it down here so you can all reach out to me, and then I will forward your questions or comments or contacts to Tamia. There's also some other, Yvonne, for example, has sent her email. I will be making sure to copy that and share it later with Tamia as well. Well, in the meantime, I just wanted to remind you that, yes, this is a series of 9 sessions on digital marketing. Next week, we will be here at the same time speaking about how your website is your shop window. In the meantime, I will reshare again here on the chat the registration form for Alliances for Action Network, which is an international trade center initiative. So you can register your company and be updated on all the initiatives that we have in the Caribbean, but also sometimes specific to some value chains. I think that we have a couple of questions here. Yes, we will be able to share the slides on the video recording, and also for previous week, it's already in YouTube. Maybe just one question that we have left: how do you grade a hashtag independent of your brand Instagram account?
All right, Jody, go to Google for me and go to the hashtag calculator. So there's a calculator that can tell you what's hot and what's not. So Jody's going to open that up. Can you give Jody,
Yes.
allow Jody to open up?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you?
All right, go
can you
to
do it, Jody?
hashtag calculator. I'm not seeing it yet. She's coming. So
Okay.
there's actually a hashtag calculator that can tell you what's good. No, please remember that you have to grade what they give you as well. So they're going to give you 20 hashtags, but probably 10 of them are for you. And then the other 10 should be custom, like your island and different little things to you. So is that the calculator that you can put in? Go back to Google. Yeah, just open up from there and then I'll be able to find it. I think it's the second one. Yeah, open it so they can see that one. Yeah, so we're going to open it up and show you. So when you go to Google, put in hashtag calculator, and then you're going to put in what is credible to your business. So she's sharing now with you. So could you ask the person what business they have?
Let's wait 1 second, because I think that it was an anonymous like participant, so I cannot, like. So if you have asked this
Okay.
question, please
Okay,
write us
so
on the
let's-
chat.
Yes. So
Macadamia La Loma. It's here in the chat.
okay, so
So
what is the business type?
So that's macadamia nuts. Jesus.
Okay, so put in macadamia nuts, Jody. And then you need to find out, is macadamia nuts the most popular nut? Should we use another nut as well to search? Should we use another nut to launch our nuts, not only use that. So this thing researches the keywords, they tell you what's trending, and then you can pretty much copy and paste from here. So it's very dummy proof,
No, this
So
is a
they're
great
looking
tip.
for newspapers and jobs. Yeah. Hope we're on the right one. So this. Scroll down a little bit, Jody. Scroll again.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so this thing will tell you what are the words that you can use, but all right. So here it tells you. Oh, it's a lot of info. Anyway, go to look to the left and you'll see the context and how they can be used. And then scroll down a little. So that's how they use it. Then people who have used it in the past, that's how they use it. And then there they show you on Twitter how it has been used for the day. Then scroll down again, Jody, and it shows you interactions. So 135,000 people have searched for macadamia nuts on Google. So Google looks more trendy than Twitter for you with searching for them. Keep going. And it's also big trending on keto weight loss. So now you can ask them to monitor this thing for you, or you cannot. Go back to Google, Jody. So this just showed us that Google has the most, yeah, click on that for me. Google had the best click-through for macadamia nuts. So maybe if you had ads to set, you'd probably set them here. Now we're trying to find, there's this place you can go to, go down, there's a place where you can go down to new hashtags. So these are new trending hashtags, but go to best hashtags, Jody, at the top of the page. Go back to the top. And when you go to best hashtags, right, so these are the most popular hashtags right now. So you take 2 or 3 of these and put in with your regular hashtags. And I can send you the email of the hashtag place where you copy and paste from and you put in the word of the company for it, because we didn't really look it up today, but all of this is available to you so you can know. And we learned something great about macadamia nuts today, that people search for them on Google more than they do on other channels.
Yes.
So maybe your ads would be there. So all of these are trending hashtags. It shows you how many million people look on it. and you can add some of these inside your hashtags and have about 10 of them. So your hashtag should have where you are, where you're located, name of your product, probably some of these popular ones to add up. And then you gradually put together your little hashtag campaign.
That's very good. Also, a good extra tip from you, Tamia. Well, again, thank you very much, Tamia, for today. I think that we had a really good comments on the chat. We learned a lot of things, and we're looking forward to the next session with you that will be in August. So for all participants, stay tuned each Thursday on the same link of Zoom at the same time. Thank you very much, Tamia, and thank you very much for all the participants. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Okay.